Alright, where were we? Ah yes, we have to turn in the third key, then we will get the location of the fourth and final key, and then we'll have all four keys and we'll finally see what happens with that. Alright, so first up, item development. We have the Zet Saber, and we now have the Beam Blade notes, which means we can recreate the Blade Arm. The Blade Arm is a lot different in Legends 2. It doesn't shoot out sword beams, but you're now able to upgrade it and extend the length of the blade, which I think is pretty interesting. And it also has a couple glitches associated with it, so we'll see what's up with that later. Now, I said I wasn't going to use the reflector arm, but the weapon I intended to use for this upcoming segment is not available yet, so instead we will max out the reflector arm, because it doesn't take all that much money, especially with a discount, and you will get to see how useless the reflector arm is. Alright, maybe it's not as useless as I'm making it out to be, at least it's cheap to max. But I still don't get the idea of this weapon. What it does is it shoots out projectiles that bounce off the walls. And I never really understood why that was such a huge deal. It bounces off the walls. You're still gonna aim and fire at enemies anyways. It's like the Gemini laser from Mega Man 3. Or the Crystal Eye from Mega Man 5. Like, you're aiming directly at enemies anyways. Do you want it to bounce off objects in case you miss? Let's see. What's in the... Oh my goodness, that man's arm is clipping into the wall. I did not notice that when I was actually playing this. Oh, jeez. There's nothing new available at the shop quite yet, but there will be when I turn the key in. Anytime you turn in a key or complete a plot cutscene thing, that's usually when new items become available. And some good stuff is about to become available, especially if you've been collecting lots of Buster parts up to this point. Anyhow, here's the third key. One more is left. And, where is it? Wow, it's in the first island we set down on at the beginning of the game. That's, pretty awesome. Going right back to where the whole thing started. How convenient that a key to the mother lode was on the island Von Blucher comes from, and where we set down at the beginning. So apparently the pirates are using a train to attack the city. This is gonna look so weird, because it's gonna look so weird because, spoiler alert, we're getting our own train, and it's going to run on a parallel track to the pirates' train. So it's like, where exactly are they, and why does our train have to start behind them as we chase after them? That's kind of, you know, just think about it for long enough when you start see it, and you'll get it. So hey, we get to see Joe again. Maybe he remembers something about Roll's father. So we set down on the island. Oh yeah, this is actually where I'm going to check out a sort of... Well, I wouldn't call it a side quest, because it's hardly a side quest, it's just a thing you can do. So here's the train, and Roll is mysteriously here. You got here really quickly after we set down, Roll. And she wonders if Joe made it. I have no idea what would make you think that Joe made it. Just because it looks awesome doesn't necessarily mean Joe made it. So if you go in the post office... Yeah, for some reason, this is the only post office in the entire setting of the game, yet this is where you get all of your letters from. How do they end up here? Yeah, anyhow, from those kids, how do you know Apo and Da? This is getting strange. So if you gave Shu the notebook, pencil, and textbook, you can actually get letters from Apo and Da, but their English is about as good as you thought it was. And after passing certain plot points, you actually get letters from the Servbots. So let's see what these are. This one is after you fight Tron at Manda Island. Wow, this sounds serious. Surfbot number 42, I get to be the answer to life, the universe, and everything? Sure, let's join them! But seriously, 41 Surfbots? I thought there were like 40 of them. I haven't played the Misadventures of Tron Bond, but I know there's either a Surfbot 0 or a Surfbot number 1. So, if there's 40 serve bots, how can there be a 42nd? Anyhow, this letter comes after you beat Tron at Solkara, so it doesn't have much of interest in it. And this is the letter from Apo and Da. Oh my goodness! Learn to spell! Learn to spell! Never spell the word come that way ever again, you two! Oh my goodness. Okay, that was actually worth it. So apparently there's a third letter from them, but I guess I haven't gone far enough in the game yet. Oh well. Alright, so we need to head to the hospital and talk to Joe, because apparently he did build that train, and he's the only one with the key to the train, so we have to get it from him. It'll be nice to see him again, I guess. Oh yeah, for some reason there's 2 hospital rooms you can go into, but the other one doesn't really have anything in it, so I don't know why they give you the option. Wow, how long has it been since we rescued you from the ruins, and you're still, like, seriously injured and stuff? Well, let's go ahead and exit the room. Oh, hey! Transition into a cutscene without a fade out. That's always nice. And now it's time for the big reveal. You probably all saw this coming anyways. 10 years ago, we tried to land on Forbidden Island. And now, you're trying to succeed where we failed! Not exactly, dude. Oh hey, it's that same photo. So Joe was Roll's father all along, but he never told her. I get the feeling he's doing that just so he doesn't have to, like, be her father and leave the family he's already got now, because he does have a wife and a kid. Kind of tragic that Roll is never going to find out about this, though. I wonder what would happen if Roll's mother reappeared somehow. Anyhow, now that we have the key, we can use the train to take on the pirates.
Isn't the main gun fixed yet? It can't even hit the target! Shooting it once destroys the barrel! What kind of cannon is this supposed to be anyway?
I told you it's still under development, but oh no, you just got to fire it, don't you? You not only knocked out the gun, you disabled the main reactor as well. Anyway, it's fixed now, so let's get a move on, shall we? At this rate, it'll be nightfall before we get to the city.
Can't they take anything seriously?
Hey, Clay, your problem is you're too serious, you know? Besides, aren't you a little ashamed of yourself? I mean, a big fella like yourself getting trashed by that kid. You're getting old, man. I've had enough of this circus. I'm out of here.
Hey, wait! Bola, wait! These fools can't do anything right anyway. I guess it's high time I was getting out of here, too.
Hey, Diesel, you heard Paula. You can do the rest of it yourselves. See you around.
Hey, wait! Hey, Claymore!
Who cares? Let him go. That leaves more for us.
What?
Come on, Teasel, stop your whining and start acting like a man.
Why do I put up with that wimp? Who does he think he is, anyway, talking to me like that?
Oh, this is what happens when you don't have any money. We have to scrounge for parts to build our machines. We have to ally ourselves with people like that. We'll never win like this.
He's here! It's Mega Man! He's using a train, too!
Here he comes.
We can start moving anytime. Cookie!
Please do try to keep up, Teasel.
I'll make you eat those words, Clyde. All right, boys. I don't want to see any slacking. Let's move out.
Come on, Shaft. Full speed ahead.
Oh, how I wish there were more scenes of those guys talking to each other. Anyways, it's time for a train battle. Like the boat battle from Legends 1, if the train gets blown up, then it's game over. Fortunately, that's not really a problem. The attacks are aimed more at Mega Man than the train. And yeah, you don't want to get hit by the bombs here, which have the Bond's skull logo, even though that's Glide's car. So anyhow, you want to start by shooting at the bomb cannons here. The best way to handle this is to give your buster a little range and aim at the rightmost cannon while standing on the leftmost side of the train. This will cause the buster shots to kind of take care of the bombs as they come at you. And then once your train has caught up, then you can start shooting at the cannon directly. Take one out, take the other out, and then take the third out. Doesn't take a lot of shots. And then you can start shooting at the cannons on top of the train, and I'm using the reflector arm here just to show it off. It's literally just a bunch of, I don't know, super balls or something. But it does a decent amount of damage with its attack maxed, I guess. And why aren't they shooting at me? It took them a long while to start shooting at me. I think you can actually destroy the cannons and the entire train itself before the guns even start firing. Which is a good thing, because the laser is probably the most annoying part of the entire fight. So yeah, that's him dealt with. Sorry, Glide, but it looks like you've gotten your wings clipped.
I am sorry, Glide. I don't have any choice.
What are you babbling about now? Wait, you're not.
We won't forget you. Glide, good luck.
Farewell. See you around.
Tron, do it.
Releasing Glide's car.
What do you think you're doing? I'll get you for this, Tizo!
Sayonara, Glide!
Okay, that takes care of Mr. Glide. Now, we have to fall back and regroup. Full steam ahead, Bond!
You know, I think it's kind of unfortunate that Mega Man isn't shown reacting to the car just suddenly disengaging from the main train and then blowing up. Anyways, what you're supposed to do for this part of the fight is grab the missiles and throw them back. But it's really annoying because if the angle on the missile is bad, I think I could have grabbed that one, but if a missile decides to dive bomb you, then you're just gonna get hit, and then you have to avoid it and wait for the missile to blow up before a new one comes out, and you can grab that. So this is going to take a little while. So I'm going to talk about the name of this boss. The Bonds named this train the Gemeinschaft. Now, you remember from Legends 1 that the Bonds named their ship the Gesellschaft. Now, these are both German terms to go with the German theme of the Bonds robots. A Gesellschaft basically refers to an individual or a company working for its own benefits, and the Gemeinschaft is a community working for the gains of the community rather than the individual. In other words, we have Legends 1 where the Bonds were working for themselves, hence they named their ship the Gesellschaft, and in this game they were working with Glide, Claymore, and Vola, hence the pirates have become a Gemeinschaft, which is what they named the train. I hope I got all that right. Anyways, I hope this is the last missile I have to throw at these guys. Seriously, this was not a good idea for a boss. It's just slow, and you do it the same way every time. So there's an example of the reflector arm doing what it's intended to do, which is not very useful. So now the Bond's train car has the gun, which has the same sound effect as the green ball attack they love so much in Legends 1. Really wish they had colored the projectile green, but whatever. To stop it from firing, you can shoot it directly. And I initially thought this was supposed to be the kind of battle where you have to manage the gun cannon while also firing at the train itself, and also you have to avoid the servbots who are throwing bombs at you. But this phase of the fight is over far too quickly. You could probably just shoot at the train itself the entire time and be safe. Like, your train has way too much life for the cannon to have a decent shot at destroying you, even on very hard mode. So then you just shoot at Bond, and the fight's pretty much over. So yeah, so much for the Bond's last stand, huh?
we go again. I'm tired of this.
Ouch! Ouch! It's hot! Miss Drawn, we're on fire! Teasel, we've got to get out of here!
Oh, listen to me! You little blue twerp! You haven't heard the last from us! I'll get you if it's the last thing I...
Mission complete!
That takes care of that. Now all we have to do is go back to the church and get the last key. Come on, Mega Man, let's go.
Wow, it has been so long since I heard the words mission complete. Did anyone else notice that? Anyhow, now all we have to do is go into the church and get the last key. And on the way there, we can check out a couple of neat things that have opened up since the last time we were there. Oh, but first, if you head out into the snowfield from where the train was, you can find this chest here. I have no idea why it's here, but it contains the spike chip, which if you go back to roll, you can develop it into a pair of shoes that negate ice physics, because this next dungeon has ice physics, and you might want a pair of shoes to handle that. I mean, if you know it's there, you can just pick it up and negate the ice physics, but if you don't know it's there, then you have to actually deal with the ice physics, and why is it just there in a chest? I don't really know. I mean, I would have put it in the dungeon itself, but then again, none of the other dungeons in the game use ice physics. So, yeah, that's weird. A couple NPCs actually appear after completing Forbidden Island, like this girl. It's actually really weird. This very strange-looking NPC. What happened to her skin? That is a weird color. It's like pitch black. Anyway, she's standing over her own grave because everyone thought she was dead, so apparently they gave her own grave, but then she came back from Forbidden Island, and it was like, oh hey, I have a grave, that's creepy. Apparently the church has another door here. I have no idea what the point of that door even is. It won't open ever, and there's another entrance into the church anyways. I guess it's just there for flavor? Oh well. So yes, the entrance to the dungeon was under the altar this entire time. That is really weird. Yeah, I'm starting to wonder about some of these dungeon entrances. They seem to be like right in the middle of town. Like, why are you stopping people from actually entering the dungeon? Alright, so I saved and got a couple of items off screen. The weapon we're using for this is the Blade Arm. Very expensive to upgrade, so I don't have a lot of upgrades put into it. And I also bought the Power Blaster Omega, which is available in the shop after fighting the pirates for the last time. It gives +3 attack, so finally we have max attack in just 2 buster parts. So you can use the 3rd buster part slot on whatever you wish. I kind of wish I had the Range Booster Alpha now, but that's in the bottom of Nina Ruins.
One more key left. This place looks pretty full. Think left.
Yeah, so I have to say that a lot of Roll's voice clips here were getting pretty glitchy because my disc is actually scratched a lot, and that actually prevented me from completing the dungeon and exiting, so that's unfortunate. But here we have ice physics, and we also have ice that you can break through with a buster. And in this room we have a new enemy. That little purple duck, it drops a lot of Zenny if you kill it, but you know, you don't have a lot of time to destroy it before it just vanishes into a puff of smoke, so that's unfortunate. So we have 2 shield Reaver bots in front of this door. Now I'm going to demonstrate the Blade Arm on them. The Blade Arm is not very good, but with one swing of its sword you can actually destroy the shields on these 2 and jump away, which is actually pretty nice. This causes them to spray their Ice Fire. Yeah, that's a new status effect. Ice Fire. Very strange. We also have platforms that break if you stay on them for too long, and they are also affected by ice physics. So that's going to be fun to deal with. Fortunately, there are ways around it. And we have a room with frozen Reaver bots and a chest. I wonder what's going to happen if we open the chest. Yep, exactly what you thought. And it makes sense to guard that chest that way because the laser manual is a component for the best weapon in the entire game. But by telling you that, you probably already know what it is, because what else would you make with a laser manual? Kinda sucks that this shining laser is made with one of the items that you just find instead of taking on a huge side quest, but whatever. That room just contains the item control panel, which, you know, I just went and got it because why not? I don't get the map control panel, I think, because there's no real reason to. These Reaver bots, by the way, the little blue ones that are prancing around, these are mean because touching them actually inflicts not one, but 2 status effects. You not only get ice fire, but you get paralyzed as well. So yeah, avoid those, pick up this chest with 30,000 Zeti. I kind of like this dungeon a little bit because it uses the 3D aspect of the game very well. Because you have ceilings that you have to bust through in order to get up to a higher level. I suppose Legends 1 had that as well. Then again, this dungeon also recycles a couple of rooms, so that's unfortunate too. Anyways, using the blade arm, we destroy the shields on these 2 Reaver bots, and that gives us free reign to shoot at them. The blade arm actually has a 3-hit combo instead of shooting out a little projectile when you swing it. Yeah, and this room is a little annoying too, because you have floors that break if you stand on them for too long, and little barriers that you have to shoot through as well. Speaking of barriers, this is the gimmick of the dungeon. There's a red barrier and a blue barrier, and 2 control panels that activate or deactivate them. But to work the control panels, you need to get the keys. So this room has the blue barrier key, and unfortunately we need to backtrack a little to get to the control panel that activates, or deactivates the blue barrier rather. Luckily, the game was courteous and decided to change the enemy layout so that there's only 1 Mammoth Reaver bot here. A bunch of enemies from Forbidden Island come back in this dungeon, which I guess makes sense because it's a snow dungeon. So, the next room we need to go to is very high up, and I don't exactly feel like climbing up all that way, so I think it's time to use a glitch. But first I'm going to destroy these enemies. And you're going to see the 2 Zenny-eating Reaver bots. The blade arm is actually capable of destroying the Zenny-eating Reaver bots, but they take a lot of hits to destroy. So the glitch I'm trying to use here is, in the blade arm's 3-hit combo, you actually go airborne for a brief moment in the combo, like right there. So if you pause and switch to the lifter, the game forgets to reset your velocity and you just float upwards and you're standing on air. Now this can actually be used anywhere in the game that you want to, but you can only get a couple of inches off the ground. But because this dungeon has ice physics, that actually causes you to slide upwards even more, so you can take a little shortcut in that room. Not the biggest shortcut in the room. You can't really like sequence break anything because, again, this is the only dungeon in the game with ice physics, but I'll make use of it when I can. It helps out a little bit later on as well. Like, this is not something you would want to go out of your way to get the blade arm just to do, but it's still funny. Like, you can actually go out of bounds with this glitch, and if you, like, just dive into the big void that exists outside of all the rooms. Oh, by the way, in this room, you can snipe at these 2 Reaver bots before they even notice you're there, so be sure to do that. You don't want to fight them down there in such close quarters. They'll hit you for sure. So using the blade arm glitch, you can go into the big empty void that exists outside of empty rooms. And, if you, like, dive far enough downwards, you'll actually scramble the game's RAM, and that can cause some really weird effects, like, messing with your controller settings, causing weird items to appear in your inventory. One guy who experimented with it got fried chicken to appear in his armor slot, and he got a Reaver bot claw in his buster slots, and all items in the game actually have buster stats, even though they're not meant to be equipped to the buster unless you use a glitch to get it in there. Of course, this glitch also has a high chance of crashing the game, so it's not like you can get, like, a super-powered buster part that they didn't expect you to have. There is a buster part, like in Legends 1, there's a buster part exclusive to easy mode that maxes out your buster completely. So, with that glitch, I guess you could get it on very hard, but it would probably not be worth the lots and lots of times you'd have to try over and over again to not only get the glitch to give you that, but to also get back in bounds and save. And even then, you would probably save a bunch of other glitches on top of that. So there was a Reaverbot spawner here, which is probably why this room was lagging so much. Yeah, this is one of those rare instances where you're actually seeing Legends 2 lag. So I don't get what the point of this room is. You just shoot through the opening and get up here, and then roll even tells you to, so that's strange.
There should be a door in that room that leads to the next area. You can't see it. It must be above you somewhere.
Brilliant deduction.
You can probably see it from the top of one of the pillars. You can probably get to the door by jumping up to the top of the pillar. See what I mean?
Roll. I get it. Jeez. So here's another sequence break. I'm trying to jump on top of the door here, but it's not working for some reason. This is a sequence break you can do even without the blade arm. You just get on top of this door here, hold forward and jet off of the platform to make it to this platform, and I've just skipped going through a bunch of rooms here. You can actually backtrack through this room to get the red barrier key, which is what I'm going to do after I take out this Reaverbot spawner to get through the door. And the Zenny Eater actually hit me there. That was annoying. Should have expected that. So yeah, this makes it faster to get the red barrier key. Unfortunately, in order to actually activate the control panel, we have to backtrack all the way to the room with the 2 control panels. So, jump cut, there wasn't really much of interest between these 2 rooms anyways. Like, I did shoot at several of the Reaverbots in the room I sequence broke into from behind, so that's interesting. Anyways, if you drop through the red barrier, or the hole where the red barrier was, you will end up 1 floor beneath you, and you can do that again in this room. There is an elevator going to the 4th floor, but for some reason it goes from the 2nd floor to the 4th floor. It skips this room, which is floor 3. So if you don't get the red barrier key, you actually miss the shield generator, which goes with another item to create the shield arm, which is completely useless, as even more so in Legends 2. So now we have a puzzle. There are 3 indestructible Reaverbots, and apparently you can destroy them, but they respawn anyways. So what you have to do is lure them into the holes.
Looks like one of the doors open, Mega Man.
When they get into one of the holes, they're sealed inside and one of the door opens. I have no idea why you would set up the puzzle this way. Also, don't fall in the hole yourself because you'll be set on ice fire. It's like a lava pit from Sol Kada. And you can also... The shoes that you could have made to make yourself immune to the lava also works on these ice floors. But again, 200,000 Zenny for that is just not good. And there's no item to make you immune to ice fire either. So this is the one status effect you can never get away from. So yeah, to get the Reaverbot into the hole, the best way to do that is to stand between the Reaverbot and the hole and then just tumble dodge out of the way at the last second. But this Reaverbot was a fair distance away from the hole. Oh yeah, and I unfortunately had the recording glitch up, so there's going to be a little bit of that. I apologize for that, but as I said, I wasn't too keen on re-recording the entire dungeon because this is unfortunately where my disc, it's a very old disc, my copy of this game. So it is scratched or whatever to the point that I actually cannot progress past this dungeon. So I have to switch to either an emulator or some other method to continue with the Let's Play. I'm definitely too far into the Let's Play to consider canceling it now, so I'll think of something, guys, don't you worry. So, opening that orange door gives you 50,000 Zenny, which is kind of okay. This green door is the way forward, so let's go see what is in the other door, the purple door. Yeah. About the disc scratching issue, I've actually had that come up with Final Fantasy IX, which is, you know, really unfortunate. So I had to order another copy of that game, and I don't think I'd like to order another copy of Legends 2, because the Legends games are rare and expensive. It's unfortunate, but, you know, them's the breaks. So the purple door has the bunny Reaverbots for some reason. I have no idea why they're in this one room specifically. And you can also get the Turbocharger Omega, which maxes out your energy, which is useless. Right, so Data's here mysteriously. How did he get past the locked door, etc., etc. It's a good thing they put a save point here, because you know, I would definitely be very frustrated if I died in the next room, because there's an actually tough Reaverbot here. And an annoying gimmick involving these 3 little Reaverbots shaped like keys. Guess what we have to do with those? But first we gotta take out the Reaverbot in the center of the room. And we're gonna use the blade arm glitch to make ourselves hover above the floor here, because doing this lets you avoid the Reaverbots that can pop out of the ground. Like I said, touching one of those inflicts you with 2 status effects, so by hanging around in the air like this, I can avoid colliding with them completely, and then I can just focus on shooting out this giant duck missile. It shoots out bombs, which can sometimes get past your buster shots, so you actually want to circle strafe this while you're in the air. And another cool thing is that we're eventually going to have to grab those 3 key Reaverbots, but they can't see you if you're in the air. When you jump, it cancels the airwalking glitch, so you can get above one of these keys, jump down, and immediately grab them. What you'd have to do otherwise is that you would have to, like, shoot at the key and chase after it. If you, like, are holding the triangle button with a lifter equipped, you will automatically pick it up if you get next to it. You can also pick them up by walking next to them and pressing the circle button, but that's horrible and you should never do it. The timing is too precise. So once we get the 3rd key here, we can go through the last door to the last room. And they have also made a typo with the keys, because if you check their description, they make reference to the library. They are not keys to the library. Whatever the library is, of course. So, it's time for the boss of this dungeon, and he is actually a pretty cowardly boss. He runs away from you for some reason. So, you can just shoot at him. It's the easiest boss in the game. I have no idea why they even put it here. He must have health, because eventually you can destroy him like this. So yeah, that was the easiest boss in the history of Mega Man Legends. I have no idea why they even bothered.
The last key should be in that room, Mega Man. We're nearly there.
Yes, we're nearly there. We nearly have all 4 keys. And there it is. Pretty easy key to get, actually.
Congratulations, Mega Man. We did it. Got all the keys. You're down. It's not over. You get back to the surface.
Oh, it's like Nina Ruins, and they're gonna make me backtrack all the way out myself.
The Reaverbot on the other side of that door is showing signs of increased activity. It looks like it's responding to the key in some way. You'll probably have to get past it to get out of there. Make sure you're ready before opening the door. Good luck.
I thought I destroyed that Reaverbot, but yeah, that's how this works. You get the key and then fight the boss, and then after this boss battle, they're supposed to teleport you out automatically, but because my disc is scratched, the game just hangs. Anyways, let's fight this boss and think about what we'll have to do for that later. So this Reaverbot reminds me of the devil enemies from classic Mega Man, but this one, instead of splitting into multiple parts, it just tries to crash into you. This attack is really easy to avoid. You just get as far away from it as possible. This is actually a really easy boss, even though it looks kind of interesting and the music is very epic. So after shooting at it a little bit, a bunch of platforms appear. This is because the Reaverbot's next move is to set the floor on fire. Well, it's not exactly fire, but if you touch the floor at this point, you can see that the floor is going to flash. That indicates that it will set you on ice fire if you touch it, and then the Reaverbot shoots at you while you're running around on the platform like this. Those projectiles are harder to avoid than they look, because eventually the Reaverbot is going to adjust its aim for your circle strafing, so you kind of have to turn every now and again. And unfortunately, I hit the floor before the ice fire had gone away. So a thing you can do to avoid that attack completely is to just stand on the middle platform instead of like the platforms on the top. This will let you avoid the projectiles. You can't really shoot at the Reaverbot from there, but that's okay. Like, you avoid damage anyhow, so yeah. And you can also just stand on the floor itself while this attack is going, because, you know, most of the Reaverbot's attacks are actually really easy to avoid. The ice fire can never kill you, it can just bring you down to 1 HP. So, like, even at 1 HP, you could avoid the rest of the Reaverbot's attacks. They're really easy to avoid, so that actually makes this one of the easiest boss fights in the game, unfortunately. This attack is difficult for a new player to avoid, though, because he suddenly speeds up and starts chasing after you. I use the jet skates and circle around the room to avoid him, but the problem with this is that, you know, because of my video capture setup, I actually missed the audio cue for this. There's an audio cue that says, okay, the Reaverbot is now vulnerable to attack again. And he just, like, suddenly melts into the floor. That face is really annoying, by the way. Just looking at it is so weird. So yeah, this is what the audio cue signals. You just shoot at him a bunch here, and then you'll probably have his life depleted and the fight is over. So yeah, that's the Kalinka Ruins boss. Not the hardest thing in the world, but I really like the music that went with it. Like, every boss has its own theme, which is really cool. Alright, so next time we see what all 4 of those keys are used for.